All right, Nuggets fans, welcome into Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends over at Bet Online, number 38. I am your host, Ryan Blackburn at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network, and I am here to talk about Jamal Murray, who is currently getting shots up at the in Las Vegas right now. He's getting ready with Team Canada along with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and guys like that for what should be a very interesting Team Canada run in the Olympics. I'm looking forward to seeing how they do, looking forward to seeing what's going on. This is going to be an interesting podcast because I think if you're here, then you probably have heard my takes and my perspective on Jamal Murray over the course of these last few days, and especially today where I wrote a couple tweets, an article, things of that nature, things that have come out over the course of these last few hours, recording this on Monday night, July 8th. At this point, Jamal Murray has not signed a contract extension yet, and I'm wondering why, because it was reported that that'd be signed, it'd be done. It was a final thing. So what gives? What's the holdup? And I went down that rabbit hole a little bit, and I'll talk about that in some of the reporting that I did over at milehighsports.com. We will talk about it all, but first I want to tell you about Bet Online, your number one source for all of your sports betting needs this season, from baseball and golf to soccer and onto the top fights in UFC, MMA, and boxing. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads. When the game's over, head on over to their online casino, get in on some games of blackjack or poker, or unwind with some slots. Use their promo code BELIEVE for 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit up to $250. Bet Online, the game starts here. Okay, let me start this thing off by saying that I don't usually do the reporting thing. It's not my, I'm not going to go out there and say, oh yeah, I'm like as connected as anybody in the league. I'm not a newsbreaker. That's not what I do for the most part. That's not what I do. But in this Jamal Murray extension and sort of his relationship with the Nuggets and how this thing has evolved over the course of these last really few years since he tore his ACL, I have been very invested in that storyline. Obviously, Jamal's my guy. I like to think that, at least. And I sort of mark as the Jamal Murray positive person within Nuggets media. And so when Shams Charania reported that on June 27th, that the Nuggets and Jamal Murray were intending to agree to a max contract extension, I was like, great. That's a great idea. I think that they should keep the group together. Jokic and Murray for life. Sounds like a great idea. And then you wait and you wait and you wait. And that's one of those things, that kind of extension, that if it gets reported on June 27th, that early, then the expectation can and should be, sorry, just making sure I'm not missing any breaking news here. That sort of expectation should be that it gets signed on July 1st. That once the clock strikes midnight, if it's been agreed upon, if it's been intended, if you put it out there, especially if it's Shams or Woj or any of these guys, then the thing should be done. And then we didn't hear about anything. We actually haven't heard anything official from the Nuggets in terms of transactions. And maybe that's all part of the plan. Maybe this is me stirring up trouble for no good. Maybe that's it. That's it. I just don't think that that's true. And from going around and talking to people, 11 days later, we're still waiting on this news, which should be a big thing that should be celebrated. That should be something that the Nuggets should be trying to get out there, should be trying to get done. Jamal Murray and Team Canada are going to play an exhibition match against Team USA in 2 days in Las Vegas. I don't know if you saw the stuff about Cooper Flagg. He is a big deal right now for Team USA. He's on the select team. He's got some stuff that's coming out about him with these practices and these scrimmages. He's been doing some things. Jamal Murray's also down there with Team Canada in Las Vegas. I'll not be going to Las Vegas for Summer League, unfortunately. I wish I was, because then I'd try to get over there and I'd try to sort of figure out what's going on from the source. If I could, I probably couldn't. But that's going on. Jamal Murray's getting ready to prepare for a big competition, maybe the biggest competition of his life with Team Canada. And that's even more than like the Nuggets on the championship. I don't know, I don't know how he feels, like whether it's his nationalistic pride or anything, but I think he feels very strongly about wanting to help Team Canada get a medal this year. And I think that they have a great shot. So that starts on July 27th and goes through August 11th. And the reporting and the word that's coming out today from Harrison Wind, Bennett Durando, guys who are pretty connected, is that once that's all wrapped up, middle of August, the Nuggets and Murray will agree to a max contract extension. Okay. Maybe that's true. I will sit here and say maybe that is true. Maybe that's what happens. But why would Murray want to wait? And that's my big question with all of this. What advantage does it give him to actually wait when a contract was intended to be agreed upon back in June, and then it doesn't get agreed to until middle of August? Like, that seems fishy. Something about that doesn't seem right. So I did some digging. I tried to figure out what the heck was going on, because not enough people, I think, have really tried to figure out what's going on. Some people are told things, and some people are told, okay, this is getting done. And maybe that's that. Maybe that's all it is. But for me, I don't think there's any actual reason for Murray to wait to sign a guaranteed max contract if it's actually there, if it's actually been offered, if that's something that is real. Unless, there could be a couple reasons. What if there's not actually a max contract on the table right now, is one of the reasons. Or two, what if Murray still thinks that he can get a supermax contract next year? He can go get all NBA, be a third team all NBA guy, qualifies for a big time contract, the 35% max contract heading into 2025, which is a lot of money. So I think that there's a couple of ways that you could look at that. One, is the max contract offer actually there? And the question is, I thought it was there. I've been told a bunch of different things at this time. Bunch of different things from a bunch of different people, varying knowledge of the situation, some around the team. I haven't talked to the Nuggets front office about this. They wouldn't tell me anything if they wanted to. And they already tell other guys stuff. The thing I feel most confident about is that the Nuggets and Murray both want an extension to get done. This is something that they want. This is something that both sides would like to agree to an extension. They would like to be around long term. The thing I feel second most confident about is that there are significant reasons why both sides are waiting, and that the deal, if it was there, if it was not there, there are certainly disagreements about what should or shouldn't be signed. And my general impression, and take this with a grain of salt, is that there was an offer that was put out there. There was an offer that was on the table, and the offer was not, let's say, advantageous towards Jamal Murray. It had a bunch of stipulations in it. It had a variety of different layers to it. The dollar figure said 4 years, $208 million. It said that, but it's not necessarily what it was in the end, or at least there was an opportunity for it to be way lower than that. Sort of protecting the Nuggets, giving them some outs, giving them an opportunity, whether it's non-guarantees or voiding of deals, things of that nature. And that's a scary thing for a player. If there are different clauses in a contract that could prevent you from earning all of the money that you should get, it's a scary thing. And my perspective on it is that Jamal and his agency, who's Jeff Schwartz of Excel, they're willing to wait on that. They're willing to not take that kind of a deal. And I think the Nuggets are willing to wait them out there. They're going to wait to see what happens with the Olympics. And for the Nuggets, that might actually be an advantageous thing because if Murray gets hurt, then they are not handing out like like let's say he did the worst thing possible and couldn't play next year. Then maybe the Nuggets are forced to pivot. Maybe the Nuggets don't want to waste a year. And maybe they feel like this could be an opportunity for them to change things up. I have a feeling that they know that. And I have a feeling that Jamal knows that. And I have a feeling that Jamal, if given an opportunity going into a competition right now, that has the opportunity for serious injury, it's a very competitive thing. I have a feeling that if the 4-year, $208 million contract was on the table, that Jamal would take it. My question is that I don't think that it actually is. And so, if you're Jamal Murray, how do you feel about that? How do you feel that something like that's not actually out there? And if I were him, I would feel pretty upset because he's given a lot to this team. There are things that he can and cannot control. There's been a lot of talk, especially publicly, about his fitness and how like capable he is, how in shape he is. Names kind of get dragged through the mud a little bit. There's been a lot of public criticism of Jamal for like that's something that he can control, obviously. And I'm not going to sit here and like defend him on that. What I will say is that I don't know if it's actually like if it was actually as serious as it was made out to be. And there's been a lot of stuff that's been taken and run with it. So the Nuggets aren't offering the full max to Jamal without protection, at least not before the Olympics. That much has been made clear in all of this. The contract that they're offering to Jamal protects them from injury absences. I think there's a games played requirement. I think that there's a lot of layers that would need to be discussed. And if it's not a 4-year, $208 million max contract that like has no stipulations, then I can understand why Jamal would be a little bit hesitant on that. Now, look, I've said on here that the way that he played last year and the way that he handled last year, I don't think is worthy of a max contract deal. So I'm not going to sit here and be in Jamal's bag on this, but I also understand his frustration where he's had his name kind of dragged through the mud a little bit. And if that's the case, like in all of these different stipulations that are going out there, some of those are insulting to players. They are. And fans might feel differently, especially fans that are like NFL fans and are also just supporting the Nuggets. Like if you're a Broncos fan, you probably feel like Jamal is getting exactly what Jamal deserves because you're very used to non-guaranteed contracts or partially guaranteed contracts. And if you don't perform, then you get cut. That's simple. Or you get like renegotiated contracts. That's just not how the NBA has been. And so if we're going off of what Jamal should get, what Jamal should deserve, I think that he deserves at least very close to a full max. And so, look, this might change, and I think I'll take a break and we can talk about it a little bit on the other side, but there are layers to this thing that are not fully being told right now. And I think the Nuggets have what they hope gets done, especially the front office hopes gets done. And I think that goes kind of counter to what Jamal Murray and other players, notably guys like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who thought he'd be getting a better offer from Denver and instead got kind of a pittance of an offer, I'll say. Not great. So, look, we will see. We will see what ultimately becomes of it. And I want to stress this first before I go to break. I am not trying to be like a Debbie Downer or a negative person trying to get everybody in trouble. That is not what this is all about. This is about like things that have been told to me about this situation and me trying to be an honest person, trying to navigate what's reasonable and what's not reasonable. and what's actually happening. Because people tell you a bunch of different things. Everybody's got an agenda. I understand that. I've got an agenda. Of course, I want the best for Jamal. That's what I would like. But I can also acknowledge where faults have been had on all sides. And I would like to try to cover that as best as I possibly can. I don't necessarily know if it's being done in that regard. So we will see what happens. Let's take a break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about what are the ramifications if Jamal does or does not come to an agreement. This is going to be a shorter podcast today, and I'll just have 2 segments. We will be right back. But first, I want to tell everybody about number 38, who's the awesome affiliate with Mile High Sports and Denver Stiffs, doing a great job of hosting parties, indoor, outdoor. You want a lot of space. You want an outdoor lawn. You want a stage. Number 38's got everything that you could possibly hope for. And they've got a great food selection, great drink selection. Anything that you're looking for from a party venue in Rhino, Colorado, or Rhino, Denver, you are absolutely in the right place. Make sure to go check out number 38 in the Rhino district and let them know that you came from Mile High Sports. We'll be right back on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, we're back. Pickaxe and Roll, Ryan Blackburn here. Thanks so much for tuning into the show. I had my background music going for the entire podcast last time when I was talking about Dario Saric. I did not realize that. And I apologize for that. But I noticed the comments and then I went back and looked at it. I was like, oh God. The elevator music that I play at the beginning of the podcast was just running for the entire time. So believe me, I am not without faults. I do everything that I possibly can to make it happen. But look, this is going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating to see how this contract situation breaks down. And let's talk about the ramifications. What are the ramifications if the Nuggets and Murray come to an agreement? Like, what happens? It's mostly status quo, obviously, like, especially if it's within the next few weeks. If you can get it done before the Olympics, I think that would be the most positive thing for everybody. Now, that changes, obviously, if if Murray gets hurt and then the Nuggets feel like, oh crap, we just locked ourselves into a 4-year, $200 million deal for a guy that's going to be out. And I can understand why the Nuggets would be hesitant in that situation. But the likelihood of that is still low. And the other thing is that if the Nuggets and Murray aren't necessarily seeing eye to eye, and if the Nuggets feel like there is a different pathway that they can go, signing Murray in the next few weeks is actually advantageous to them because it would allow them to then have 6 months pass and for Murray to then be eligible to trade at the deadline if that is what the Nuggets want, if that is what they are hoping for. Let's say that they needed to pivot, things were not going as well. Weirdly enough, the Nuggets needed KCP and that they needed somebody else, and then they're not necessarily doing great. If they felt the need that they had to trade for somebody else and they had to trade Jamal Murray to do it, they would have the flexibility to do so prior to the trade deadline. These are the conversations that you kind of have to have in this case because Denver needs to win a title. That's the goal. That is the barometer for success. If they don't win a title, then it's a problem. They can trade Murray 6 months after the extension. If it is after the Olympics when they sign him and before media day, that's when everybody expects. That's what everybody expects for sure. I'm sorry, got distracted by the Comcast blood-sucking money comment that came through. Look, what's expected based off of what others have reported, namely Harrison Wind, Bennett Durando, is that the Nuggets and Murray, at least from the Nuggets perspective, expect to come to an extension after the Olympics and before media day, sometime in mid-August. Look, if that's what happens, then great. I would love for that to be the case. I don't necessarily want to be like the guy who's the whistleblower here of like, hey, there's a problem. And then there's not a problem. Like, if that's what happens, those guys will probably take a victory lap and I'll be made to look like a fool. Or maybe something changed in the Nuggets negotiating, and that's what actually caused it to happen. Because I don't think that the deal that's on the table right now is the deal that Murray's going to ultimately agree to. That's my general impression. I think the Nuggets think that it will be something that he agrees to. And if that's the case, then it's a game of chicken. If that's the case, if Denver does ultimately sign him to an extension, assumably Murray will be around. He won't be eligible to be traded at the deadline. The Nuggets will have to see it through until the end. And hopefully, look, there's an all-star in Murray. Like, there's an all-star capability in him to be able to do that during the regular season if he's effective, if he's healthy, if he has the right mentality, if he's a leader, if he's leading by example. There are ways that he can be an all-star. There are ways that he can be just the most or the second most valuable member of Nuggets history. That's at least a possibility. And that's a world where I would love to be. It's a world where I would love to see Murray be in Denver for 12 to 15 years of his career, being very happy. The Nuggets win multiple championships and everybody's very excited. Maybe that happens. That'd be great. If the Nuggets agree to an extension with Murray after media day and right before the season, there will be some drama. Hopefully it's nothing too crazy, but there'll definitely be some drama there. A lot of people asking some questions. I'll certainly be writing like articles about it. I'll certainly be asking questions, whether it's to Malone or to Murray or to Booth himself. Like, I will be asking questions, and I think that it's a very big story if like the second best player on a title team is going into an expiring contract in an environment where very rarely do guys go into unrestricted free agency anymore, especially after they've won titles. Most guys just get paid. I think the Nuggets are sort of zagging here. And so that'll have some drama. The worst case scenario, by the way, is what happens if they don't come to an agreement? What happens if things get even more crazy, more uncomfortable, and let's say the Nuggets never shift their stance on what kind of contract that they're offering, and let's say Jamal never shifts his stance either, and they go into the season without a deal. Can the Nuggets allow Murray to go into the season on an expiring contract? Is that even like reasonable to think? Like, because he can't walk away for nothing. You can't walk away, like have your second best player on your championship team walk away from the team. That would be unfathomable when he's in his prime. I believe that they can negotiate an extension during the year because of the number that Murray makes. Let me just check on that to be perfectly crystal clear. Murray will make $36 million in 2024-25. I believe that the Nuggets can agree to an extension during the season, but it can only be like a 20% raise during the season. If it was the 30% max, which they can agree to, that would be more than 20% of a raise of his $36 million. And so I'm not sure that either the team or the player wants it to get to that place. So I think they're going to either get a deal done or more than likely, Nuggets probably start looking at trades. They probably start looking at changing the direction of the team. It would be a wild turn of events. I don't think anybody wants that either. I let me restate this. I think that the Nuggets, I think that Jokic, I think that Murray, I think that Malone would love for Jokic and Murray to be in Denver for their entire careers. That would be the goal. I think the Nuggets want to do it on their terms, and they don't want to offer the full thing. That's my take. Take it or leave it. And that is a clear indication that these guys are they're playing chicken with each other a little bit. They're not necessarily comfortable. Not everything is kosher. Not everything is awesome behind the scenes. There has been some tension. Last year was a tough year for everybody involved. Murray was not an easy person to deal with. Like, he was angry, frustrated. And I think that affected the team in some ways. I think the Nuggets are like, hey, what the hell? And Murray's like, I'm sorry. Like, can I help you? And that definitely changes the perspective a little bit. So, look, like I said, I don't think people want it to get to that point where you have to start talking about trades. I don't want to even talk about that because we are not at that stage yet. I think the Nuggets are still in the stage where they want Jamal and Nikola to play together for a long time. But I also know that it's not like impossible to envision that Calvin Booth and the Nuggets front office is like, you know what? Jokic is the only untouchable guy. Porter's not untouchable. Murray's not untouchable. Gordon's not untouchable. The only untouchable guy is Jokic. So what do you do in that situation? Do the Nuggets... I'm not even going to speculate on that. That is too much speculation. So, look, I've done my best to sort of share the actual reporting. I'll leave with this in terms of what the actual reporting is from my perspective. What I said in the tweets. The Nuggets and Jamal Murray have not yet agreed to a contract extension. Negotiations are still ongoing, and there's a possibility that this becomes a bigger story than anticipated after Shams declared an expected deal on draft night. That is all true. I followed up with, it's very possible that this gets done over the next few days, but from everything I've heard, both sides are protecting themselves in negotiations, and a straight-up plain max extension offer without any stipulations has not been offered by the team. That is true, too. Because why in the world would Jamal not agree to a 4-year max if it was there? What's going on? Why would he not? Is there something that I'm missing? Is there something that, is there something going on? And that's what I'm trying to ascertain. That's what I'm trying to figure out. In the article itself, a source with knowledge of the situation tells me that the Nuggets have offered the framework of a maximum contract to Murray, but that contract isn't fully guaranteed at this time. That is also true. So look, that's where we stand. That's where the Nuggets stand. And I think that this is going to be something that they revisit after the Olympics. I still think that they are trying to figure out, I think that they believe that they can improve upon Jamal. If things are not perfect, I think that is the internal belief. I also don't know if that's fair because you did just win a title. I understand that you got to make some tough decisions. That's fair. That's understandable. I would never look, making the tough decisions was very important when KCP was acquired. And then when Bruce Brown was acquired and the Nuggets added some guys in Christian Brown and Peyton Watson, that made a lot of sense. And are the Nuggets trying to make a tough decision here? Did they make another tough decision when KCP walked? Circumstances have certainly changed with the second apron. I don't think that that's the reason why the Nuggets are a little bit hesitant here. But I wouldn't rule it out. I don't know. My point in all of this is that it's been 11 days. It's been a long time. What is the reason why Jamal Murray would go into an Olympic run without the security of an extended contract? I think it's a fair question to ask. Okay, that is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll. It's a short one. I apologize for it being short. I didn't necessarily want to go too long on this topic because, look, there's only so much that can be said. Things are where they are. And beyond this, I don't want to speculate too overly much because I don't want to get people in trouble. I don't want to be burned. I don't want to be like seen as the guy who is like just like I'm not trying to burn bridges here. I really am doing my best to try to be honest about what's going on. So, look, we will see. Thank you so much for tuning into the show, everyone. Really appreciate all the love and support. Cedric, I am not coming to Summer League. I apologize. I am moving to a new apartment that is starting this Saturday, which is July 13th. The Nuggets play on July 12th. So I am doing my best. But look, you could hook me up with a nice little stay, then that would be great. But it's just not happening. So look, everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for being fair to me. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. Would really appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys very soon.